After working with over 3,000 menopausal women in nearly 10 years, you start to see some themes. And one of the big themes that we hear time and time again is, Rachel, I don't know what is going on, but I just feel achy. My joints hurt, I feel stiff, and I just have all these aches and pains. Now, the reality is you're not crazy. That's the good news. It is not all in your head. The bad news is there are biological changes happening in our body in menopause that lead to this. Now, the other good news, we're going light with the dark here, is that it is fixable. And most importantly, it is fixable without all these pills and injections and BS supplements that this industry would have you believing that you need. We can get this under control using nutrition alone. For the purposes of today, we're going to dive into the topic of inflammation, and I want to start with a conversation about why this happens. If you saw my video on cortisol, we talked about one of the themes of menopause is that our estrogen naturally drops. That is human biology. That's how we're designed. And we talked about how one of estrogen's main jobs is to control cortisol. So as estrogen drops, cortisol naturally rises. It's a very similar conversation when it comes to the topic of inflammation. One of estrogen's other main roles in the body is to control inflammation, to reduce inflammation. So as our estrogen starts to naturally drop, it follows that our inflammation naturally rises. Now, again, I see so many women who are being sold by this industry, this multi-billion-dollar industry of injections and supplements and this pill and that pill. The reality is we can get our inflammation under control using nutrition alone. If you've been following along, you know that the first thing we have every woman do that we work with is go through their menopause symptom checklist. Because rather than tackling hundreds of symptoms at a time, we want to group them down into what I call the big three: cortisol, our topic of today, inflammation, and gut health. And once we know what symptoms you're having, because this is very personal, right? Your menopausal symptoms look very different than your best friend's. That gives us a game plan of how we can start to tackle this, and most importantly, how we can start to tackle this using nutrition alone. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now, and I want to take you through what we call our anti-inflammatory guide. Before I do that, I want to reiterate something that we talked about on the topic of cortisol if you caught that video. Nothing about this is about a major life overhaul. This diet industry loves to tell us we're on our diet, we're off our diet, we're being good, we've been bad. This is about baby steps and momentum. I like to think of getting a snowball rolling down a hill. So as I go through this anti-inflammatory guide with you, what I don't want you to do is feel like, well, I can never have a donut again. Well, I can never have a glass of wine again. I'm only eating anti-inflammatory foods. Maybe you have more willpower than I do and you'll stick with that longer, but it's not sustainable long term. This is about making this a totally sustainable lifestyle, which means we want to pick and choose. What can I implement? What's the low-hanging fruit here? How can I get a snowball rolling down a hill? Because as pleasure-seeking creatures, as we start to feel good, we're going to say, I feel incredible. What else can I do? So let me share my screen and we'll dive into my anti-inflammatory guide together. Okay, on your screen is a copy of our anti-inflammatory guide, and this is where we start to piecemeal this. If you've been paying attention, you know everything we do is uber personalized. One size fits all never works when it comes to health, but especially in a menopausal body, it is not about eat these foods, don't eat this foods, boom, you're magically cured. It's about what's going on in your particular body. Where can we pick and choose? How can we get that snowball rolling down a hill? So with our members, when we see that one of their heavy hitter topics is inflammation, we start to talk about building an anti-inflammatory meal. Does that mean that this is how every single meal is going to look? Of course not. This is about baby steps. This is about momentum. It's about picking and choosing what can I fit in. But what we're going to focus on is by curing inflammation, reducing inflammation using nutrition alone, which means a good balance of high quality proteins, anti-inflammatory carbs. Carbs are a must for a healthy body, a body that's losing weight, a body that's preserving muscle in menopause, healthy fats, and then we like to say eat the rainbow, your sides of fruits and vegetables. We need to make sure we're focusing on omega-3 fatty acids. A lot of people think you can only get this from fish. It is true that fish has a lot of them, but if you're a vegan or vegetarian, hope is not lost. You can get them from flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, all the seeds. We focus on adding in antioxidant-rich foods. Again, this does not mean we never have a donut. We never go out for pizza with the grandkids. It's about what can I add in. things like berries, leafy greens, those delicious, great fiber-filled veggies, turmeric and ginger. And then we dive into, we call it spicing it up, right? There are little tips and tricks and things we can add to our meals, like fiber and prebiotics and anti-inflammatory herbs and spices. Hydration is such a quick fix when it comes to inflammation in our body. Now, you heard me say this, and I'm going to repeat it here. This is not about a major life overhaul. I see so many women say, well, there's inflammation in my body, time to eat clean and cut out all junk food. Again, you might have more willpower than I do, so you stick with that longer. But if we want to truly make this a sustainable lifestyle, it is not all or nothing. It's about, number one, identifying our personal symptoms. Number two, taking ideas. Think of it as a smorgasbord of anti-inflammatory foods. What can I start to take out? What can I start to add in? Right? As humans, you've heard me say this a few times. We are pleasure-seeking creatures. We're not going to say, I feel incredible, let me not do anything else. We're going to say, I feel incredible, what else can I do? So maybe we start by just adding a couple pre and probiotic foods into our meals. Then maybe we say, you know what, for dessert tonight, instead of having ice cream, let me just have a bowl of berries with some whipped cream on top. Baby steps, momentum, get that snowball down, rolling down a hill. Inflammation is one of the symptoms that we see changes in the quickest. We can start to reduce inflammation fairly quickly. And again, as we start to feel good, it becomes very easy to do more and more and more. So we always start by identifying symptoms, number one. Number two, what are the heavy hitters, that initial match, the domino, so to speak? Is it cortisol? Is it gut health? Is it inflammation? We're going to tackle all of them, but we want to know for you personally, what is the biggest one to dive into first, knowing that as we tackle these, the other ones are going to fall into place as well. All right. As a reminder, the most effective, efficient way to do this is always one-to-one, which is why we always offer a free one-to-one strategy session. We don't work with every single woman out there. So we want to make sure, number one, that we can absolutely help. And number two, talk you through what that looks like. There's a link below to apply for that strategy session. Spoiler alert, tomorrow I'm going to be back in your inbox yet again, and we're going to dive into all things gut health. If you're ready to apply for your one-to-one strategy session, it's totally free. Use the link below, and I will see you tomorrow for that conversation about gut health.